we should get started, huh? It looks like we got our whole crew here.
Yeah.
We got the whole Story Fellowship in place. And so just to quickly review from our last week, they managed to retrieve the Sword of Summer and the apple that the Frost Giant had asked for. And he gave the Frost Giant the apple and then ran for it. As what's her name?
Yeah.
You know, the gal from Valhalla who did not like him, Gunilla, was like in hot pursuit with like a bunch of his floor mates, like coming after him, and so they like hopped onto this like waypoint of the world tree, and they were like, look for a place, and he looked for a place. He's like, it's here, and so they just went for it and traveled through this like portal of the world tree and ended up in this other land. And when they walked into this beautiful place, everyone was saying hi to Blitzen. And they're like, hey man, how's it going? Hey, how you doing? Hey. He's like, hey everybody, and he's keeping his head down. And they saw this beautiful overturned arc looking building. It was like this beautiful large wooden arc building that was sitting in the middle of this field. And it looked like a castle. And they went towards it, and when they were brought inside, this is what they saw. And we'll read the last few pages of what they saw so that you guys will remember. And I just ask that you all mute yourself so that we can hear Dennis clearly, okay, and no background sounds, okay? All right, okay. Dennis, you have the floor, my friend.
Okay. In front of the dais, a cozy fire crackled in the hearth. Piles of jewelry and precious gems glittered here and there, as if somebody had swept them up just to get them off the floor. On either side of the steps lounged a calico house cat. I don't think I said that right.
A calico house cat, yeah.
House cat, the size of a saber-toothed tiger. The throne
was a big house cat.
Yeah, it's like the size of a saber-toothed cat. The throne was carved from wood as soft and buttery as the light linden wood. Maybe the back was draped with a cloak of downy feathers.
Like hey Dennis, can you move closer to the mic? I can barely hear you.
How about now?
It's a little bit better. Not great.
How about
now?
No.
No, that's worse.
Oh no.
What are you using for a mic, buddy? Is it just your iPad?
No, it's my Bluetooth speaker.
Oh. What did you use last time, your device?
All right, try that now. How about now?
Oh, dude, 100 times better. Yeah. Wow. And Emily is in the waiting room. Let me let her in.
Yeah, I haven't even started yet.
Let's hit that again. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I don't know what you were using, but this is way better.
Well, it was my iHome. I don't understand why it wasn't working.
Yeah, it was not
working.
Can you
hear me now? Okay, well.
All right, you want to start over?
Sure.
All right.
Okay, everybody ready?
Yep.
Hi, Emily.
Hey.
In front of the dais, a cozy fire crackled in the hearth. Piles of jewelry and precious gems glittered here and there, as if somebody had swept them up just to get them off the floor. On either side of the steps lounged a calico house cat, the size of a saber-toothed tiger. The throne was carved from wood, as soft and buttery as the light linden wood. Maybe the back was draped with a cloak of downy feathers, like on the underside of a falcon. In the throne itself sat the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. You got that picture? I'd ever seen.
Yep.
She looked maybe 20 years old, surrounded by an aura of golden radiance that made me realize what Blitzen meant earlier when he said the daylight here wasn't normal. The entire realm of folk Wagner was warm and bright, not because of the sun, but because it basked in the woman's power. Her blonde hair fell across her shoulder in a single long plait. Her white halter top showed off her tan shoulders and smooth midriff. Her knee-length skirt was belted with a golden braid along, holding the sheath knife and a ring of keys around her neck ring of keys. Around her neck was a dazzling piece of jewelry, a lacework collar of gold and gems. Like Ron's net in miniature, except the rubies net in miniature, except with rubies and diamonds instead of sailors' souls and hubcaps. The woman fixed me with her sky blue eyes. When she smiled, heat traveled from the tips of my ears, light right down to my toes. I would have done anything to make her keep smiling at me. If she told me to jump off the world tree into oblivion, I would have done it in a second. I remembered her picture from my old children's mythology book and realized how ridiculously it undersold her beauty. The goddess of love was very pretty. She had cats. I knelt before my aunt, the twin sister of my father, Freya. My dear Magnus, she said, how nice to meet you in person. She turned to Blitzen, who was glaring at his boots. And how are you, Blitzen? Asked the goddess. Blitzen, oh, I'm fine, Mom. Freya is pretty. She has cats.
That's chapter
Mom.
what?
Yeah, this is 39.
Wait. Yeah, announce the chapter before you do the cool title.
39. 39.
Cool.
Freya is pretty. She has cats.
Nice.
Mom. I was so startled I wasn't sure I'd said it aloud. Wait, you, Blitzen, Mom? Freya continued smiling. I suppose my son didn't tell you. He's quite modest. Blitzen, dear, you look very nice, but could you straighten your collar? Blitzen did muttering under his breath. Been a little busy running for my life. And, dear, Freya said, are you sure about the vest? Yes, Mom. Blitzen grumbled, I'm sure about the vest. Vests are making a comeback. Well, I suppose you know best. Freya winked at me. Blitzen is a genius with fabrics and fashion. The other dwarves don't appreciate his expertise, but I think it's marvelous. He wants to open his own. Anyway, Blitzen said a little too loudly, we're on this quest. Freya clapped. I know. It's very exciting. You're trying to get to Nadavir to find out more about the rope.
Wait a minute. Can I just make an observation?
Yeah.
If Freya is Magnus's aunt, then doesn't that mean that Blitzen is his cousin?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. This whole time he's been chilling with his cousin. Didn't even know it.
You're trying to get to Nadavir to find out more about the rope Gleipnir. And so, naturally, the world tree directed you first to me. Whenever cats clawed at a pristine rug, ripping several $1,000 of weaving into fluff, I try not to imagine what the cat could do to me. So, Lady Freya, I said, can you help us? Of course, said the goddess. More importantly, you can help me. Here we go, said Blitzen. Son, be polite. First, Magnus, how are you faring with your sword? I missed a beat. I guess I still didn't think of the Sword of Summer as mine. I pulled off the pendant, and the blade took shape in my hand. In Freya's presence, it was silent and was still, like it was playing dead. Maybe it was afraid of cats. I haven't had much time to use it, I said. Just got it back from Ron. Yes, I know. Freya's nose wrinkled with the slightest hint of distaste. And you delivered an apple to Utgard Loki. In exchange, perhaps not the wisest move, but I won't criticize your choices. You just did, Blitzen said. The goddess ignored his comment. At least you didn't promise me to Utgard Loki. Usually when giants make demands, they want apples in my hand in marriage. She flipped her braid over her shoulder. It gets very tiresome. I had a hard time looking at Freya without staring. There really wasn't anything safe to focus on. Her eyes, her lips, her belly button. I silently scolded myself. This is Blitzen's mom. This is my aunt. I decided to focus on her left eyebrow. There was nothing attracting about a left eyebrow. There's sometimes. So anyway, I said, I haven't really killed anything yet with the eyebrow. I mean, the sword. Freya sat forward. Killing anything with it? Killed anything with it? Oh dear, that's the least of its powers. Your first task is to befriend the sword. Have you done this? I imagine the sword and me sitting side by side in a movie theater, a tub of popcorn between us. I imagine dragging the sword on a leash, taking it for a walk through the park. How do I befriend a sword? Ah, well, if you have to ask. Look, Aunt Freya, I said, couldn't I just give the sword to you for safekeeping? It's a Vanir weapon. You're Freya's sister. You've got a few 100,000 well-armed, laid-back warriors to guard it from Shurk. Oh, no, she said, sadly. The sword is already in your hands, Magnus. You summoned it from the river. You have laid claim to it. The best we can hope for is that Summer Brander, the sword of summer, will allow you to use it. Keeping it from Sword is your job now, as long as you manage to stay alive. I hate my job. Blitzen elbowed me. Don't say that, kid. You'll offend this blade. Like a blade has emotions or feelings. I looked down at the gleaming runes on the blade. I'm sorry, long, sharp piece of metal. Did that hurt your feelings? Also, if you allow people to wield you, why would you allow an evil fire giant to do so? Why wouldn't you want to go back to Frey, or at least his lovely sister here? The sword did not reply. Magnus, said the goddess, this is no jesting matter. The sword is fated to belong to Sword, sooner or later. You know this. The sword cannot escape its identity any more than you can escape yours. I envisioned Loki chuckling as he lounged on the high seat of Odin. Our choices can alter the details. That's how we rebel against destiny. Besides, Freya said, the sword would never allow me to use it. Summerbrander holds me partially responsible for its loss. It resents me almost as much as it resents Frey. Maybe it was my imagination, but the sword seemed to become colder and heavier. But it's Freya's sword, I protested. Blitzen grunted. It was. I told you, kid. He gave it away for love. The calico cat on Freya's right rolled over and stretched. Its spotted tummy was pretty cute. Stretched. Its spotted tummy was pretty cute, except for the fact that I kept imagining how many warriors it could comfortably digest. When Frey sat on Odin's throne, continued the goddess, he did so for my sake. It was a dark time for me. I was wandering the nine worlds, grieving and bereft. Frey hoped that by sitting on the throne, he might find me. Instead, the throne showed him his heart's desire, a frost giantess, Gerd. He fell madly in love with her. I stared at Freya's eyebrow. Her story wasn't helping my opinion on my dad. Of my dad. He fell in love at first sight with a frost giantess. Oh, she was beautiful, Freya said. Silver to Frey's gold, cold to his warmth, winter to this summer. We've heard that opposites attract. She was his perfect match, but she was a giant. She would never agree to marry a Vanir. Her family would not allow it, knowing that Frey fell into despair. Crops stopped growing. Summer lost its warmth. Finally, Frey's servant and best friend came to ask him what was wrong. Skinner, I said, the dude who got the sword. Freya frowned. Yes, him. Blitzen took a step back, like he was afraid his mom might explode. For the first time, I realized how scary the goddess could look. Beautiful, yes, but also terrifying and powerful. I imagined her armed with a shield and spear, riding with the Valkyries. If I saw her on the battlefield, I would run the other direction. Skirnir promised he could deliver Gerd within 9 days, said the goddess. All he required was a small fee for his services, the sword of summer. Frey was so love-stricken that he asked no questions. The sword, I could only imagine how it felt when it was betrayed by its master. It allowed Skirnir to wield it, though not happily. Freya sighed. This is why the sword will never allow Frey to use it again. And this is why, at Ragnarok, Frey is fated to die, because he does not have his weapon. I wasn't sure what to say. Bummer didn't seem to cover it. I remembered Loki's warning about sitting on Odin's throne, looking for my heart's desire. What would I look for? My mother's whereabouts? Would I give up a sword to find her? Of course. Would I risk getting killed or even hastening doomsday? Yes. So maybe I couldn't judge my father. Blitz gripped my arm. Don't look so glum, kid. I have faith in you. Freya's expression softened. Yes, Magnus, you will learn to use the sword, and I don't mean just swinging it like a brute. Once you discover its full abilities, you will be formidable indeed. Formidable indeed. I don't suppose it comes with a user's manual. Freya laughed gently. I'm sorry, I didn't get you in Volk-Wagner, Magnus. You would have been a good addition to my followers. But Valhalla called you first. It was meant to be. I wanted to argue the Norns, the Enharjar, and the captain of the Valkyries didn't seem to think so. Thinking about Gunilla made me remember our flight into the world tree. Zam and Hearthstone hiding under a veil from a murderous squirrel. Our friends, we got separated from them in Yggdrasil. Freya, do you know if they made it here safely? Freya peered into the distance. They are not in Folkvanger. I see them. Yes, wait, lost them again. Ah. She winced. That was a close call, but they're fine for the moment. A resourceful pair. I sense they will not come here. You must continue on and meet them in Nadvalir, which brings us to your quest and how we can help you. Blitz said, exactly, darling. Your need brought you here. Need speaks strongly when you travel the world tree. After all, that's how my poor son found himself being a bondservant to Mimir. We're not having this discussion again, Blitz said. Freya turned over her lovely hands. Fine, moving along. As you well know, the dwarves created the rope Gleipnir, which bound Fenris Wolf. Yes, Mom, Blitz said, rolling his eyes. Everyone learns that nursery rhyme in kindergarten. I squinted at him. Nursery rhyme? Glenniper, strong and stout, wrapped the wolf around the stout. Humans don't learn that one. I don't think so. I don't think so. At any rate, said the goddess, the dwarves will be able to tell you more about how the rope was made and how it might be replaced. Replaced? I willed the sword back into pendant form. Even so, hanging around my neck, it seemed to weigh 100 pounds. I thought the idea was to keep the rope from getting cut in the first place. Ah, Freya tapped her lips. Magnus, I don't want to discourage you, but I'd say there is a good chance, perhaps a 75% chance, that even if you keep the sword from Sword, the fire giant will still find a way to free Fenris Wolf. In such a case, you might be prepared with a replacement rope. My tongue felt almost as heavy as my sword pendant. Yeah, that's not at all discouraging. The last time the wolf was free, didn't it take all the gods working together to bind him? Freya nodded. It took 3 tries and much trickery. Poor Tyre lost his hand, but don't worry. The wolf will never fall for the hand in the mouth trick again. If it comes to that, you will have to find another way to bind him. I bet Miles out in the people's battlefield didn't have these sorts of problems. I wondered if he'd be interested in trading places for a while, going after Fenris Wolf while I played volleyball. Freya, can you at least tell us where the wolf is? On Langavi, the island of Heather. The goddess trapped her chin. Let's see. Today is Thursday, the 16th. You mean Thursday? Hold on. 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock alarm.
Yeah, that's what I
Mine
said.
went off too.
That's what I said. The island will rise on the full moon 6 days from now, on the 22nd, which is Wednesday. Wednesday, I asked. That's what I said. So you should have plenty of time to get my earrings before you seek out the wolf. Unfortunately, the island's location shifts every year as the branches of Yggdrasil sway in the winds of the void. The dwarves should be able to help you locate it. Blitzen's father knew the way. Others might as well. At the mention of his father, Blitzen's face clouded over. Very carefully, he took the carnation from his vest and tossed it onto the hearth fire. And what do you want, mother? What's your part in this? Oh, my needs are simple. Her fingers fluttered over her golden lace collar. I want you to commission some earrings to match my necklace. Bringen something nice. Brisinggamen.
You're gonna have to say that way slower. What is it?
Brisinggamen.
Brisingamen?
There you go. Something nice. Not too flashy, but noticeable. Blitzen, you have excellent taste. I trust you. Blitzen glared at the nearest pile of riches, which contained dozens, maybe hundreds of earrings. You know who I have to talk to in Nadavir? Only one dwarf has the skill to replace the rope Galopiner. Yes, Freya agreed. Fortunately, he's also an excellent jeweler, so he will be able to accommodate both our requests. Unfortunately, said Blitzen, this particular dwarf wants me dead. Freya waved aside his objection. Oh, he can't possibly not after all this time. Dwarves have very long memories, mother. Dwarves have very long memories, mother. Well, generous payment will be soften his attitude. I can help with that. She called across the hall. Dimitri, I need you. From one of the sofa clusters, three guys scrambled to their feet, grabbing their musical instruments and hustled over. They wore matching Hawaiian shirts, Bermuda shorts, and sandals. Their hair was greased back in pompadours. The first guy had a guitar. The second had bongos. The third had a triangle. The guy with a guitar bowed up to Freya. At your service, my lady. Freya gave me a conspiratorial smile, as if she had some wonderful secret to share. Magnus, meet Dimitri and the Do Runs, the best band you've never heard of. They died in 1963, just as they were about to get their big break. So sad. They valiantly swerved their car off Route 1 to spare a busload of schoolchildren from a terrible collision. In honor of their selfless deaths, I brought them here to Volk, the Folkvanger, and we're very grateful. My lady, said Dimitri, being your house band has been a sweet gig. Dimitri, I need to cry. She said, could you please play the one about my lost husband? I love that song. I hate that song, Blitzen mumbled under his breath. The trio hummed. Dimitri strummed a chord. I whispered to Blitzen, why does your mom need to cry? He turned toward me and made a finger down the throat gesture. Just watch, you'll see. Dimitri began to sing. Oh, adore, 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 adore. Where is that adore? Where is my love? The other two musicians harmonized on the chorus. Odd wanders far, my odor is missing. How odd it is not to be kissing my adore, my sweet odd adore. Triangle, bongo, solo. Listen, whispered. Her godly husband was an Aesir named Ador, Odd for short, OD for short. So it's ODUR, Ador, and OD for short. Kind of weird.
Yeah, that's a weird name.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird to have a like song. It's like what? I wasn't sure which name was worse. He disappeared. I guess 2,000 years ago, Blitzen said. Freya went looking for him. Disappeared herself for almost a century while she searched. She never found him. But that's why Freya sat in Odin's chair in the first place, to look for his sister. The goddess leaned forward and cupped her face in her hands. She drew a shaky breath. When she looked up again, she was weeping, but her tears were small pellets of red gold. She wept until her hands were full of glittering droplets. Oh, Ador, she sobbed. Why did you leave me? I miss you still. She sniffled and nodded to the musicians. Thank you. Dimitri, that's enough. Dimitri and his friends bowed. Then the best band I wished I never heard of shuffled away. Freya raised her cupped hands. Out of nowhere, a leather pouch appeared, hovering above her lap. Freya spilled her tears into the bag. Here, my son. Freya passed the pouch to Blitzen. That should
Tears
be
of gold.
Yeah, well, it's red. It's red tears.
Oh,
Yeah.
so they're rubies?
I think they're red. Hold on. Want to do something? What the hell? Yeah, I think should be enough payment if Airtree Jr. is at all reasonable. Blitzen stared glumly at the pouch of tears. The only problem is he's not. You will succeed, Freya said. The fate of your earrings is in your hands. I scratched the back of my neck. Lady Freya, thanks for the tears and all, but couldn't you just go to Nadvir and pick out your own earrings? I mean, isn't shopping half the fun? Belinda shot me a warning look. Freya's blue eyes turned a few degrees colder. Her fingertips traced her filigree of her necklace. No, Magnus, I can't. Just go shopping in Nadvir. You know what happened when I bought Bringsman Bringsingman from the dwarves? Do you want that to happen again? Actually, I had no idea what she was talking about, but she didn't wait for an answer. Every time I go to Nadavir, I get myself in trouble, she said. It's not my fault. The dwarves know my weakness for beautiful jewelry. Believe me, it's much better that I send you now. If you'll excuse me, it's time for our evening luau with optional combat. Goodbye, Magnus. Goodbye, my darling Blitzen. The floor opened beneath us and we fell into darkness.
Wait, what?
Combat.
The floor opened?
What? No, hold on. So I'll go back. Time for our evening luau with optional combat. Goodbye, Magnus. Goodbye, my darling Blitzen. The floor opened beneath us and we fell into darkness.
Oh, wow. You said it so fast. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, my bad.
That's all right.
Chapter 40. My friend evolved from a nope, I can't say it. 7:10. I don't remember
That's
landing.
funny.
I found myself on a dark street on a cold, cloudy night. 3 story clapboard row houses edged the sidewalk. At the end of the block, a tavern's grimy windows glowed with neon dark signs. This is Southie, I said, around D Street. Blitzen shook his head. This is Nadavir, kid. It looks like South Boston. Or rather, South Boston looks like it. I told you, Boston is the nexus. The 9 worlds blend together. There and affect one another. Southie has a definite dwarfish feeling to it. I thought Nadavir would be underground with claustrophobic tunnels and kid, that's a cavern ceiling above your head. It's just a long way up and hidden by air pollution. You don't have daytime here. It's this dark all the time. I stared into the murky clouds after being in Freya's realm. The world of the dwarves seemed oppressive, but it also seemed more familiar, more genuine. I guess no true Bostonian would trust a place that was sunny and pleasant all the time, but a gritty, perpetually cold and gloomy neighborhood. Throw in a couple of Dunkin' Donuts locations and I'm right at home. Blitz wrapped his pith helmet in his dark netting. The whole thing collapsed into a small black handkerchief, which he tucked into his coat pocket. We should get going. We're not going to talk about what happened up there in Volkswagen. And Volkswagen. Yeah, Volkswagen. What's there to say? For one thing, we're cousins. Blitz shrugged. I'm happy to be your cousin, kid, but children of the gods don't put much stock in that sort of connection. Godly family lines are so tangled, thinking about it will drive you crazy. Everybody's related to everybody. But you're a demigod, I said. That's a good thing, right? I hate the word demigod. I prefer born with a target on my back. Come on, Blitz. Freya is your mom. That's important information that you kind of forgot to mention. Freya is my mother, he agreed. A lot of Savitovs are descended from Freya. Down here, it's not such a big deal. She mentioned how she got Brigsgenmen a few millennia ago. She was strolling through Nadblair. Who knows why? And she came across these 4 dwarves who were crafting the necklace. She was obsessed. She had to have it. The dwarves said, sure, for the right price. Freya had to marry each of them, one after the other, for 1 day each. I wanted to say, gross. She married 4 dwarves. Then I remembered who was telling the story. Oh, yeah. Blitz sounded miserable. She had 4 dwarvish children, one for each marriage. I frowned. Wait, if she was married for 1 day to each dwarf and a pregnancy lasts, the math doesn't work out on that. Don't ask me. Goddesses live by their own rules. Anyway, she got the necklace. She was ashamed of herself for marrying dwarves, tried to keep it a secret. But the thing is, she loved dwarven jewelry. She kept coming back to Nadavir to pick out new pieces, and every time, wow. Blizzard's shoulders slumped. That's the main difference between dark elves and regular dwarves. The Savitovs are taller and generally more handsome because we have Vanir blood. We are descended from Freya. You say I'm a demigod. I say I'm a receipt. I'm res- a receipt. RECIEIPT. You're muted.
Yeah, he's saying that he's basically the receipt for payment of the necklace. That's all he is.
Yeah, I say I'm
mind.
a receipt. My dad crafted a pair of earrings for Freya. She married him for a day. She couldn't resist her craftsmanship, his craftsmanship. He couldn't resist her beauty. Now she sends me to purchase a new pair of earrings because she's tired of the old ones. In Asgard, forbid she find herself saddled with another little Blitzen. Saddled with another little Blitzen. The bitterness in his voice could have melted iron plating. I wanted to tell him I understood how he felt, but I wasn't sure I did. Even if I never knew my dad, I had my mom. That had always been enough for me. For Blitzen, not so much. I wasn't sure what had happened to his father, but I remembered what he'd told me about Esplanade Lagoon. You're not the only one who's lost family to the wolves, kid. Come on, he told me. If we stand here in the street, if we stand in the street any longer, we'll get mugged for this bag of tears. Dwarves can smell red gold a mile away. He pointed to the bar on the corner. I'll buy you a drink at Nabby's Tavern. Nabby's restored my faith in dwarves because it was in fact a claustrophobic tunnel. The ceiling was a low clearance hazard. The walls were papered with old fight posters like Donner, the Destroyer versus Mini Murderer, One Night Only, featuring pictures of muscular, snarling dwarves in wrestling masks. Mismatched tables and chairs were occupied by a dozen mismatched dwarves, some Savitovs like Blitzen who could easily have passed for human, some much shorter guys who could have easily passed for garden gnome. A few of the patrons glanced at us, but nobody seemed shocked that I was a human. If they even realized, the idea that I could pass for a dwarf was pretty disturbing. The most unreal thing about the bar was Taylor Swift's Blank Space, blasting from the speakers. Dwarves like human music? I asked Blitzen. You mean humans like our music? But I had a sudden image of Taylor Swift's mom and Freya having a girls' night out in Nadvillier. Never mind. As we made our way toward the bar, I realized that the furniture wasn't just mismatched. Every single table and chair was unique, apparently handcrafted from various metals, with different designs and upholstery. One table was shaped like a bronze wagon wheel with a glass top. Another had a tin and brass chessboard hammered into the surface. Some chairs had wheels, others had adjustable booster seats. Some had massage controls or propellers on the back. Over by the left wall, three dwarves were playing darts. The board rings rotated and blew steam. One dwarf tossed his dart, which buzzed toward the target like a tiny drone. While it was still in flight, another dwarf took a shot. His dart rocketed toward the drone dart and exploded, knocking it out of the air. The first dwarf just grunted, "Nice shot." Finally, he reached the polished oak. We reached the polished oak bar where Nabby himself was waiting. I could tell who he was because of my highly trained detective mind, and also because his stained yellow apron read, "Hi, I'm Nabby." I thought he was the taller dwarf. Was the taller dwarf I'd met so far until I realized he was standing on a catwalk behind the counter. Nabby was actually only 2 feet tall, including the shock of black hair, that stuck up from his scalp like a sea urchin. His clean shaven face made me appreciate why dwarves wore beards. Mittens, hi.
Maybe. Hush down.
Dwarves wear beards. Without one, Nabby was God's awful ugly. He had no chin to speak of. His mouth puckered sourly. He scowled at us like we'd tracked in mud. "Greetings, Blitzen, son of Freya," he said. "No explosions in my bar this time, I hope." Blitzen bowed. "Greetings, Nabby, son of Loretta. To be fair, I wasn't the one who brought the grenades. Also, this is my friend Magnus, son of Natalie." Nabby nodded to me. His busy eyebrows were fascinating. They seemed to move like live caterpillars. I reached for a bar stool, but Blitzen stopped me. "Nabby," he said formally, "may my friend use this stool? What is its name in history?" "That stool is Real Rester," said Nabby, "crafted by Gonda. Once it held the the tush, held the tush of the master smith Alavis. Use it in comfy, Magnus, son of Natalie. And Blitzen, you may sit on Kiester home, famed among stools, made by yours truly. It served the great bar fight of 4109 a.m. 4109 a.m. Oh, cool. The bar. We're at the bar now. Aha. No, that my thanks. Blitzen climbed on his stool, which was polished oak with a velvet padded seat. A fine keister home it is. Nabby looked at me unexpectedly. I tried my stool, which was hard steel with no cushion. It wasn't much of a rester. It was more of a Magnus Mangler, but I tried for a smile. "Yep, that's a nice stool, all right." Blitzen
Thanks.
rapped his knuckles on the bar. "Mead for me, Nabby, and for my friend, soda or something." I wasn't sure I wanted to be walking around Dwarven Southly with a mead buzz. Nabby filled 2 mugs and set them in front of us. Blitzen's goblet was gold on the inside, silver on the outside, decorated with images of dancing dwarf women. "That cup is Golden Bowl," said Nabby, "made by my father, Darby. And this one," he nudged my pewter tankard, "is Boom Daddy, made by yours truly. Always ask for a refill before you reach the bottom of the cup. Otherwise," he played his fingers, "Boom Daddy." I really hoped he was kidding, but I decided to take small sips. Blitz drank his mead. A fine cup for quaffing. And now that we are past the formalities, Nabby, we need to speak with Junior. A vein throbbed in Nabby's left temple. Do you have a death wish? Blitz reached into his pouch. He slid a single gold tier across the counter. This one is for you, he said in a low voice, just for making the call. Tell Junior we have more. All we want is a chance to barter. After my experience with Braun, the word barter made me even more uncomfortable than rear Richter. Nabby looked back and forth between Blitzen and the tier, his expression that vacillating between apprehension and greed. Finally, the greed won. The barkeep snatched the drop of gold. I'll make the call. Enjoy your drinks. He climbed off his catwalk and disappeared into the kitchen. I turned to Blitz. A few questions, he chuckled. Only a few? A few questions. He chuckled. Only a few? What does 4109 AM mean? Is it the time, or dwarves count years from the creation of our species? Blitz said. AM is after maggots. I decided my ears must still be deficitive. DEFECTIVE. Deceive from Radakost barking. Say what? The creation of the world came on you. Come on, you know the story. The gods killed the largest of the giants, Ymir, and used his flesh to create Midgard. Nedvir developed under Midgard, where maggots ate into the ground giants' dead flesh and created tunnels. Some of those maggots evolved with a little help from the gods into dwarves. Blitzen looked proud of this hysterical tidbit. I decided to do my best to erase it from my long-term memory. Different question, I said. Why does my goblet have a name? Dwarves are craftsmen, said Blitzen. We're serious about the things we make. You humans, you make 1,000 crappy chairs that all look alike and all break within a year. When we make a chair, we make one chair to last a lifetime. A chair unlike any other in the world. Cups, furniture, weapons. Every crafted item has a soul and a name. You can't appreciate something unless it's good enough for a name. I studied my tankard, which was painstakingly engraved with runes and wave design. I wished it had a different name, like No Way Will I Explode. But I had to admit, it was a nice cup. And calling Nabby son of Loretta, I asked, or me the son of Natalie. Yours are natural. We trace our lineage through our mothers. Again, it makes much more sense than your patrilineal way. After all, one can only be born from a single biological mother, unless you are the god Heimdall. Heimdall. He had 9 biological mothers, but that's another story. Synapses melted in my brain. Let's move along. Freya's tears, red gold. Sam told me that's the currency of Asgard. Yes, but Freya's tears are 100% pure. The finest red gold in creation. For the pouch of tears we're carrying, most dwarves would give their right eyeballs. So this guy, Junior, he'll bargain with us? Either that, Blitzen said, or he'll chop us into small pieces. You want some nachos while we wait? 41. Blitz makes a bad deal. Time is it? Oh, it's 7:30. You want to keep going or you
Doesn't
want
sound
stop?
good. He makes a bad deal.
Yeah, Blitz makes a bad deal.
It's up to the group. What do you guys think? You want to keep going one more?
Gotta
Yeah.
hop off, but
You gotta go,
yeah.
Okay.
Have a good
I know I
night.
sketch you. I know I set you up later.
Yeah. Bye.
Good night.
Bye, Emily.
Bye, Emily.
Bye.
Good night.
How about everyone else? Do you guys have another chapter in you? I got dinner coming, so I'm gonna have to mute and turn my, camera off, but I'll still be listening.
You don't eat. You just eat. What you eating?
I don't want to. None of your business.
Cereal.
It's something simple, but I don't want to be eating in front of you guys.
I don't care. I've already eaten.
But
Okay.
it was Merchant.
Well, Sage is still up.
Yeah,
Russian
it sounds like it.
sleeping.
Yes, the little thief that she is. We're heading to bed right now, actually.
Good night.
Okay. Why don't we call it for the night then?
Mhm.
You want to call it night?
Sure.
Yeah, that was a good read, man.
Yeah.
Good reading.
And I think
What?
we're all a little tired. So
Sure.
Yeah, we were all tired. I worked today, so
Oh yeah.
I have to work tomorrow.
yeah.
Yeah, I
And
work
then
today
we'll pick
too.
it up where we left off next time.
Yeah. So
Thank you all
we're on
for
40
joining Story Fellowship.
41. We're on chapter 41, and Blitz makes a bad deal.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that says it all right there, doesn't it? That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
They gotta get. He's got to get his mom some jewelry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right.
Well, it was
Good night,
great to
everybody.
see all of you. Take care. Good night,
Night.
Seiji.
Good night, Stacey.
Good
Good night, Sadie.
Good
Good night,
everybody.
Dennis.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
See you
Good
tomorrow.
night, John.
Yep.
Good night.